AMG family, Mondo here. Hey, just wanted to make sure real quick before we get started that you guys have subscribed to the AMG Podcast channel. Go below if you can't see it, look a little, scroll down, whatever you got to do. Hit that subscribe button. It helps us immensely here at the AMG Podcast. The second thing we need you to do is turn on your notifications. That way, anytime we drop new content, you are the first to be notified. That way we can grow together. We can learn in life together and do life together. All right. So with that said, let's get to it. Welcome to another episode of the AMG Podcast. Hey, I'm your guy Mondo, and we are going to have a great conversation about final expense insurance. Most of you probably know what it is. If you do not know, we're going to talk about what is final expense and kind of get into some of the details regarding like who it's for, how do you use it, what company you may want to go with, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll talk about all that. I got to tell you, I am extremely grateful for the final expense industry. If it were not for that and me getting into it, I would not be where I am today with myself and my family. So we're extremely grateful for the journey thus far. With that said, a lot of people are like, well, I thought, life insurance is just life insurance. You just get insurance and you're good. Not true. That's not true. There's a lot of different types. Most of you know that. But in the life insurance sector, there's quite a few subsectors of life insurance, right? So you can get into different types of policies. Obviously, there's the term whole life. That's kind of the more of the macro view. But even in that, there's different types of purposes, right? So obviously, you've got all your other stuff, your property and casualty. You've got all your, homeowners. You got all this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. But when it comes to life insurance, there's different types of things you can do in regards to whole life and term. And the one in particular that I have been in for, some years now, over a decade, is final expense. And final expense insurance is a niche, if you will, but it applies to everyone. Final expense is exactly that, your final expenses that you leave behind. And how is that going to get taken care of by your family, right? So basically what it is, final expense insurance is typically a small whole life policy, right? It's designed to take care of your funeral and other final expenses left behind, okay? And it's taken care of immediately. Typically, it's a simplified issue, meaning that there's not a lot of crazy underwriting, right? Typically, no health exams, with depending on the carrier, but the one I work with is literally no health exam at all. And it pretty much covers a lot of individuals who maybe have some health issues going on. Typically, final expense policies are purchased by people who are 55 and up, and looking to have a way to take care of the funeral. And so there's a couple of things that I want to kind of go over because I've heard this over the years for different things. So I'm kind of jumping around, but let's just dive into it, and I can go just off the cuff here. All right. So first of all, final expense insurance is for everyone. If you're going to get up out of here one day, you're going to die, guess what? You need it. I don't care how much money you have or don't have, what you got on the side, what you got put in a mattress or a shoebox. You need final expense insurance. So you need to take care of your family because within a couple of days of you passing, if not sometimes the same day, there will be someone looking at you with their hand out, typically some sort of end-of-life services, funeral director, crematory director, whatever, saying, hey, you need to pay me for what we're about to do with you, with your loved one. So, you got to have that money ready and available because if not, that is a massive burden on the folks that are grieving. Right? The spouse, the family, the kids, the whoever. All right. And we all have been there. We've all seen and heard stories of people who have passed away and had nothing in place. There had to be a GoFundMe account. Maybe there's a fundraiser. Maybe people are going around the family and passing the plate. Maybe the church has to raise money. Maybe they're selling rib and fish dinners outside the church on Sunday to figure out how to bury Nancy on Wednesday. Maybe you have to, do some sort of begging and go out in the middle of the street in intersections. I've seen all kind of stuff, as I'm sure y'all have too. So we don't want that. We don't want to leave that burden. I've even heard people have had to get title loans on their vehicles, even on their bass boat that they own, now to get title loans and stuff like that just to bury a loved one. And one particular gentleman that I heard this from is 3 years, I think it was almost 3 years later, is still paying the title loan when his loved one passed almost 3 years ago. Come on. All right. So final expense insurance, it applies to everyone. Now, you may not need car insurance because you don't have a car. You may not need homeowners insurance because you don't maybe have a home. You have an apartment, live in a townhouse with a relative or whatever. Maybe you don't need cell phone insurance because you still using payphones. I don't know. But I do know one thing, that everybody, me included, who's watching this is getting up out of here one day. And someone is getting a bill. Okay? So final expense insurance is one of the best gifts you can give to your family to relieve that burden and give them peace of mind at the end of your life. And I got to tell you, over the years, the countless people I've sat with, countless families I've talked to that I've helped, and some not even helped, just depending on their situation, or maybe they're, to be honest, selfishness. I've learned so much about humanity, to say it lightly, okay? But I've met some phenomenal people who have said, you know what, we went through this before with a loved one. I don't want this to happen to my kids. Or, you know what, I haven't gone through it, but I see it coming. I don't want that burden to be on my children, my family, whatever, and let me get this taken care of, okay? So final expense insurance is there to take care of the funeral and final expenses. Now, what are other final expenses? What are those? Obviously, okay, here's how I call it. I call it the death pie. All right, when you pass away, there's a pie of things that needs to happen. And a big sliver of that, a massive piece of it, is the funeral or, the end-of-life services, cremation, whatever, right? That's a big part. But let's say, Miss Nancy passed away and she owns her home. Well, you got to sell the home. Kids got to sell it. Maybe they got to get it ready to sell. Maybe they have to move her belongings into a storage unit. Storage unit costs, moving costs. Maybe getting house ready to sell, that costs money. There's a lot of, maybe they don't want to sell it. Maybe they want to keep and try to figure out, well, there's still light bills and still water bills and electric bills. There's different things coming on to the family that used to be Nancy's responsibility. Maybe she's got some debt. But debt doesn't typically die with you, okay? That's going to get transferred to somebody, all right? Well, what about some other things going on that, around Nancy's financial life? Well, that stuff is going to hit the family. So we want to make sure that the funeral and final expenses are taken care of. Now, another thing you may happen, say, well, we want Nancy's sister to fly in from LA to, come to the East Coast to bury her sister properly. Okay, well, if you got extra money, you can then send that on to the sister, get a flight, bring her in. Maybe buy clothes for the kids who don't have suits and, different funeral type attire, if that's what you want. Or maybe that you want to gift a little bit of money to some grandkids, or gift a little money to your daughter or son. I mean, it's not a crazy amount, but maybe $5-6 or so, $2,000 or whatever. Okay. So this can help in so many different ways. Now, I'm gonna dig into the company that I prefer, because it's not just about the money; it's also about the family support they provide. I'll dig into that in a minute, which is my favorite, my numero uno. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But so it's for everyone. Like, again, I can't stress that enough. So even if you are quadrillionaire, I'm telling you, you did not earn that $250 or whatever you have, so you can one day pay for a funeral. You don't go to work every day so you can say, you know what, I'm going to go work hard, bust my tail, get my bonus, so that way when mama dies, I can pay for her funeral. Nobody's saying that, right? We know that. So whether it be covering yourself or covering your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, someone around you, make sure people are covered, because that is a huge expense for a lot of people, okay? And an expense that, even if it's not huge, you still don't want it to come out of your own bank account, if we're being real, okay? And of course, we got things like GoFundMe out there, which everyone for some reason thinks is insurance now, but it's kind of like the old crap fund. That's what they really should call it. Like, because it's like, oh crap, we got caught with our pants down. We don't have anything. Hey, let's start begging. Now, again, it's a way to, crowdfund, obviously, and raise funds for those types of situations. But why do we got to go to that, right? Let's go ahead and take care of our affairs and get our family covered. All right. So who it's for, what it is, we got that covered. The other thing is who do you get it from? Now, typically our seniors are 55 and up folks, especially, if you're retired, sitting around, doing life, you're seeing a lot of different commercials, a lot of different companies who are soliciting their product, call in right now, you can get this, or send this piece of mail in, you can get this, or go on our website, you can get this and get a quote, blah, 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 blah. A lot of different ways. But I got to tell you, by far, I can't tell you the number one company that I recommend to anyone. That you look, I'm stuttering because it's that good. Okay, it's because it's that good. The number one company I recommend for final expense is Lincoln Heritage, second to none. Period. When it comes to paying claims and when it comes to taking care of your family and providing a plan, a resource for people to put their affairs down in writing, and have an advocate, have an actual organization take care of them and guide them, help them make decisions so they're not left by themselves, navigating this hard time by themselves. Most people aren't professional funeral directors. Most people aren't salespeople. Like when they go into a funeral home, most people trust the funeral director. And so a lot of times the funeral directors have an advantage. Now there's some great funeral directors out there. There's also some ones that little suspect, I would say. So, but for the most part, even if there's a phenomenal funeral director and the family knows him, he's awesome, he's a deacon at the church, he still has a business to run. And a lot of times the family doesn't understand how to navigate that space. And you really can't think clearly when, mom passed or dad passed or your loved one, you're grieving, right? So Lincoln has a phenomenal partner called the FCGS that allows you to basically they walk alongside of you. They allow you to put your plans in place, think as clearly as possible as they guide you through decision making. Man, the resources, the access, the education that you have, all that, and the support is phenomenal. I have seen it over and over and over and over the decade I've been with them. And I got to tell you, man, by far the best. All right. That's from my perspective, my experience. I'll put everything I own on that. All right. The other part of it is that, I've seen them just on not just the famous support, but on paying claims, man. There's been times where I've seen them actually go out of their way to figure out how to legally and with compliance to pay the claim. They actually dig and find a way to pay it. They don't try to figure out ways not to. They try to figure out ways to pay. And I've seen that over and over and over and heard stories from other agents. I have my own stories. It's really phenomenal. I had one of my own clients who had a policy on her mother, and literally her mom passed away within 2 to 3 months of having the policy, and Lincoln paid that claim. And she's like, we made like 2-3 payments and they paid. I actually have her on audio recording stating that. It's really phenomenal. So that is one company I would say, hey, go for it. Like, don't even look at nobody. Maybe I can't be biased like that. I don't know. But you know what? If you're looking for final expense insurance, sorry, I'm stuttered getting out. Definitely lean into Lincoln Heritage and do your research and find out how they can help you and your family. Now, there's others out there, and the ones. Here's what I got to say about that, though. Okay. What I love about Lincoln and what they do is that agents actually will come talk to you. All right. See you at your home, make an appointment, come see you, drop by, whatever they do. Right. I love that. That's what we've done. I love it because it's personal. It's personalized. What I have very little respect for, though, are the companies that don't even respect you enough to sit with you and talk to you. They expect you just to get baited by a TV commercial, to call in and deal with some person on the phone, sell you a particular policy for $1 a unit when most people don't even know what a unit is. Yeah, exactly. If you're like, what's a unit? Yep, you're one of them. So now I get it, because you may not have your insurance license and maybe you didn't read the fine print on that particular insurance carrier's contract. Exactly. Most people don't know. So all these different things, like if they don't have the respect enough to come talk to you and find out what your needs are and what you're looking for and all that good stuff, then what makes you think they're going to respect you when you're dead, man? Like, I don't get that. Like, I think it's more of like, I'm going to check the box. I got some insurance, and then here comes death, and then you don't have no insurance. So I don't get that. Like, if they don't have enough respect for you and your family to actually understand who you are, treat you like a name and not a number, what makes you think they're going to be there when you die, man? Seriously. So I've seen so many people, go with other companies that do that kind of stuff. And here's another thing I will address before we end is, cheap insurance doesn't mean it's good. Cheap insurance does not mean it's good. It just means it's cheap. Doesn't mean it's valuable. Doesn't mean it holds value. It doesn't mean that they do what they say. It doesn't. No, they got you on the cheap. And that's exactly what your family gonna get in return. Cheap experience, cheap value, if any value. I call them premium collectors. That's what I call them. When companies are trying to figure out, hey, get them in on the cheap and get a whole bunch of people doing it. And then when it's time to pay a claim, we're going to figure out ways not to pay and make them jump through hoops where people give up and say, you know what, screw it. We'll just go ahead and do a GoFundMe. How many times have I seen that? Dozens. Okay. Lincoln, never, ever. So obviously I'm biased and I'm proud to say I am. So with that being said, man, hey, if you're looking to learn more about final expense and what it can do for you and your family, definitely reach out to Lincoln. I said, or me, if you have questions, whatever, I can guide you in the right direction, get you straight with them, get you in the policy, depending on where you are in the country. We'll definitely make sure you get connected with the right person. If not, our own agency here at AMG would definitely be glad to help you. So final expense insurance is for your family. One of the most selfless acts you can do is taking care of them and getting them straight. It covers your funeral and your final expenses, not just the funeral, but also debts and other things that come along after death. It covers that first week. And then the other bigger policies you have, right? That can cover transition and income replacement and paying off the mortgage and all the other stuff. But we, Lincoln, take care of that first week because that's the hot spot, right? That's the hot spot. And so there's other things I can get into, but just on a simple approach and understanding, know that this is something that's valuable and that you need. I've never heard someone go through death with Lincoln and say, "Oh man, hey man, I wish they didn't pay so fast. I wish they didn't help me make all these decisions." I never heard that. Okay, and even people say, "Hey, well, I don't know if my mom needs that." Well, here, and then we end up helping the family, their family member anyway. And then when they get that check, I've never seen anybody mail the check back. No, they take it. So it's important. It's important, man. Obviously, I'm excited about it. I love Lincoln. I love final expense. And I got to tell you guys, definitely invest in it. Take care of your family. Do what's right by them to leave a proper legacy and take care of that first week. And then start building your insurance, structure to take care of other things after that. But that's the number one thing, numero uno, that's going to smack our families upside the head. So let's do it. Take care of our business. That is final expense. Appreciate you guys joining the AMG podcast. We will see you on the next episode. Later.